everyone, it's Debbie with Book and Bujo. I'm so glad that you joined me today for February's TBRopoly. Let's go ahead and go over January's books and then we'll get into February's rolls with TBRopoly. So the first roll for January was a TBR jar pick, and that was to read Soulbound. And I did read that and I really enjoyed it. I had a great time with it. It's by Bethany Adams and it's the first book in the Return to the Elves series, and it was very interesting. 4.5 stars. I definitely want to continue with the series. For roll number 2, I landed on nonfiction and I read Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday, and I thought it was kind of cool. My word of the year last year, I think 2025, 2024, one of those 2 years, my word of the year was arete, which means excellence. And he talked about in his book a little bit more, and he also said it can be described as virtue and translates to something very simple and very timeless. Excellence, moral, physical, mental. Thought that was kind of interesting. So I very much enjoyed this and I gave it 5 stars. For roll number 3, I landed on series, and that was to read the next book in A Dance of Fire and Shadow. And I was like, I don't even remember what the first book was that I read. Once I figured out what the name of it was, Soulblade? No, I don't even remember. Fireblade, Soulblade? Something like that. The second book was called Iceblade, and I did really enjoy it. And the series is by Jay Aspen. And I was a little concerned because it's been a couple years since I read the first book, but as soon as I got into it, I was like, oh yeah, I remember this book. I didn't remember all of the details, but I remembered the main characters and kind of what was going on. And it was definitely enjoyable. And I think I gave that one 4 stars. Next up was another TBR jar pick, and that was Kraken Rider Z. And I am actually currently reading it and I am 36% of the way through. I just started it, but I am loving it. It is so much fun. So you have your dragon riders and you get the bond between dragon riders where they can talk to each other through their minds and all of that kind of stuff. And then you have Z, who is our main character, and Jessup, who is another main character. And of course, as the name says, Kraken Rider Z, so Z ends up being a Kraken rider, and it's the story of how he meets the Kraken and goes on to then hopefully become a writer, because at this point he's not. But again, 36% of the way through, and I think I'm only on page 217. There's over 600 pages in this book, so I am super excited to continue with this one, and I will most definitely have it done before the end of the month. Roll number 5 was a double, and I did end up with an even card, and that was to read a book club book. And for this one, I read What We Talk About When We Talk About Love by Raymond Carver, and I appreciated this book. I appreciated the writing style and the content, but I did not care for it. 2.5 stars. I can see why people like this, but it did not put me in a good headspace. It's not like it made me mad or angry or irritated me or anything like that. It's also, the main reason I didn't like it is it's short stories that don't necessarily apply to each other. So you're getting to know all new people, all new situations in every single solitary story. And I hate those short stories. Just when you're starting to get into a story, it ends and you're done. And that's it. That's all you get. But what if I want to know more? What if I want to find out more information or figure out who the character is? Like, how did they become who they were in this short story and all of that? And so, yeah, I just don't like short stories like that. Yeah. And some of the stories just kind of end and you're just like, there was no resolution, no anything that, yeah. So, yeah, not for me. Next roll. Of course, another double, and this time I landed on the book club spot on the board. And for this one, I chose The Golden Lily by Rochelle Mead, and this is the second book in the Bloodline series, which is the spin-off series of the Vampire Academy series, and I loved it. I love the main characters, and I love how Rochelle Mead kind of brings characters in from the Vampire Academy and puts them kind of back into here, and then they kind of go, so kind of like cameos, so they come in, then they go out again. I love that because it kind of ties everything together, and you kind of see where things are, and you kind of get a little bit more story on maybe where that series ended, and you kind of wonder a little bit what may have happened to them in the future. Well, now you know, because they're kind of in bits and pieces of them in this series as well. So I love that. Loving this series. I gave that one 4.5 stars. My next roll, I landed on an odd card, and that was to read a TBR jar pick. And I'm not sure why I have this as a card. I could probably take this out since I have it as a couple spots on the board, but for now, I have this card still. And I did draw for this one Norse mythology, and I did have 3 different books on Norse mythology that were titled Norse mythology on my Kindle. And so I just picked one, and the one I chose was by Marie Campbell, and I'm actually still reading it, and I am on page 113. I think there's 161 pages, so I'm 72% of the way through, and I am loving this one as well. It's a nonfiction about Norse mythology, which is fascinating. I just love hearing how they speculate some of the stories came into being, because you don't necessarily know, and because there's not a whole lot on some of the characters, like some of the minor gods and goddesses, some of the major deities, and all of that. And I just love all of the stories that are in here, and also how we have taken some of these characters and then modernized them. So like Marvel movies take Thor and Loki and turn them into specific situations and things like that aren't actually part of the true history from the Norse mythology. Like, they're not really brothers in Norse mythology. And so it's just kind of interesting how the twists we take from the story to make them more modern and put them into entertainment. But I've always been interested in Norse mythology. I've always found it fascinating, and I am loving this one as well. My last roll I landed on Amazon Borrows, and I did roll a 9, and that was to read I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. And again, I love this one. I gave this one 4.5 stars. And I really enjoyed the movie, but I also love the book. I just thought it was so interesting, and I love the twist he took on the vampires and how some vampires react to certain things but not others, and how other vampires will react to this thing but not this one that this other vampire did. So like between like crosses and garlic and fire and, some of those kind of things, and how the way that Richard Matheson decided to spin those. I thought that was fascinating and very interesting. And the ending was also expected, but also quite unexpected, if that makes sense. I knew it wasn't necessarily going to turn out a certain way, but I didn't necessarily expect the way that it did turn out. So I loved that one as well. So it was a very good reading month. I think I had 1 2.5 and a couple 3 stars, because I've read some plays and things like that, which aren't necessarily my thing either. So a couple of 3 stars there, but overall it's been like 4, 4.5 and 5-star books for the entire month, which has been amazing. I did read more than I was planning. I think I've finished 22 books, which I was hoping for less. But again, some of those were plays, which were quite short, and a couple hour audiobook. So I'm not counting those against me too much. But I have not been quite as good with my reviews. So I have written some, but I need to write more. And there's still some time left in the month. I'm hoping to write at least 1 a day, and that will help to catch me up just a little bit. Although some of the reviews I am writing are some backlog ones from 2025, because they're NetGalley and I want to get those done. So I won't penalize myself for doing those ones and not current ones. So what does this mean? This means I completed my January TBR. Yay, very excited for that. So I'm still in the middle of 2 books, but I still have a week left, so they will be done before the end of the month. So that is amazing. I finished my first TBRopoly TBR of the year. So let's go ahead and see what my reward is going to be. Do I get a reward or a punishment? Did I finish my TBR for January or did I not? I did, so I get a reward. And that will be triple up 1 book for 3 prompts. That is awesome. Love that one. All right, here's my reward, and that is to triple up one book for 3 prompts. Now, this is a great reward, read 1 book instead of 3, but I have a feeling it's going to be a little difficult to find 1 book that's going to fit all 3 prompts. We'll see. Does that mean if I can double up, I can't do that? So I'm going to stick with the triple up. It has to be either triple up or not using it. And I'm also going to say, I think for my rewards, they will last for 1 quarter. So I can use this for January, February, and well, it'll be January, February, March. So if I don't use it in February, then I have to use it in March or it will be gone. And if I get a reward in March, then I have to use it in March or else it'll be gone. I think that's the way I'm going to go. Now let's see how many rolls I will be doing for February. Now let's figure out how many rolls I will be doing for February. 4. I'll take it. That's good. I like it. Now I got a lot of great suggestions about what I should do when I pass start. So I'm going to keep track of those, and I think quarterly I will kind of add up how many times I passed start, and then I'll use that number as like tokens towards books that I can purchase. 4 rolls. I will take it. That works for me. I've got quite a few book club books to put on here, but I think we'll make it work. And if I only have, even if I can't get any of them into my TBRopoly, then at least there's only 4 extra books that I would be reading on top of the book club books. So that works. Now let's get into roll number 1. Now I ended January on Amazon Borrows, and that's where I will start for February. So I'll take my 2 6-sided die, and let's go ahead and roll for roll number 1. 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Even card, even number. A book with no magic. Roll number 1 was an even card, and that was to read a book with no magic. This would be a great time to put on a nonfiction, I'm thinking. Now, for this one, I was thinking nonfiction, but then I was also thinking, we also have some year-long readathons and challenges. We may want to try and get one of those books into this spot. And so I decided to go with something that's a little bit shorter, but it is a nonfiction, and it's a little shorter, and it will work with one of the year-long readathons. And that is Can I Live? Dare to Go from Effed Up to Fabulous. And this is by Grace Redman. And we'll see. Can I go from Effed Up to Fabulous? Well, I hope so. Roll number 2 of 4. 3. If you can see that a little better. 1, 2, 3. Series. Perfect. The God Eater series. Roll number 2. I got series, and that is to read the God Eater series. The first book in the Age of the God Eater series by Rob J. Hayes, and I have not read any of those yet, so I will be starting with book number 1, and that is Harold. And we'll see how this month's TBR will stack up to last month's, because last month's I didn't get to choose very many books. Most of them were chosen for me. So hopefully for February I will be able to choose more of my books. This is on my 26 and 2026 for series, and for the 26 and 2026 books as well, I believe. I think it's on both those lists. And possibly my chunky book one too. So I'm getting 3 done with 1 book. That would be awesome. But yet, not yet so far for tripling up on any of the other books, because I'm pretty sure this probably has magic in it, so that doesn't work for this one. And doubling up the first book doesn't work for this one because I didn't get to choose this one. But that's okay. Roll number 3. Roll 3 of 4. 2 doubles. 1, 2. And that is an even card. A physical book. Roll number 3 was, of course, a double. So now we have 5 books. Not too bad. Still very doable. But I ended up with an even card. telling you the even cards and doubles. That is to read a physical book, and for this one, I decided this would be a great time to pick up Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Jane Austen and Seth Grahame-Smith. I'm very much looking forward to this one, and this one I believe is also on my Horror Bingo Readathon and Herkiad. So I hopefully will be able to cross off another square of Herkiad with this one. All right, roll 4 of 5 now. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 25 and 2025. I need to change that. I forgot to update these. I need to put 26 and 2026 on those. Oh, 11, 22, 63. Roll number 4 was another double. That's kind of funny because I'm pretty sure in January I had 2 doubles in a row as well. Interesting. And this roll I did land on 26 in 2026, which is great. And that is to read 11/22/63 by Stephen King, and I am very much excited to read this one, especially since the series just came out on Netflix, so now I can read it and then watch it, and that'll be a lot of fun. Roll 5 of 6. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Another even card. See, I'm telling you, even cards and doubles. A dystopian. Roll number 5 was an even card, and that is to read a dystopian. And I did struggle a little bit with this one because I was trying to triple up on something. I can double up on quite a few things, but I can't triple up on anything yet. I'm like, So yeah, I was going through everything. I'm like, okay, Book with No Magic. So far, I'm pretty sure the nonfiction's it for that one. 11/22/63. I don't know, that maybe might not have magic. I'm not sure though. And of course the series, not much I can do with that one. Physical book, I could try and find something that could double up with that, and then 11/22/63, that one was chosen for me. So, and none of those are dystopians, or at least not predominantly dystopian. So yeah. Hopefully I can use that reward in March because it's a good one. And so I did end up going to my book club books, and I did find a dystopian, and I chose The Blueprint, and that is by Gianna Rashad. And that one is for the Boundless Book Club for February. Okay, roll 6 of 6. Final roll. A 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another 26 and 2026. That works. The Shadow of What Was Lost. Oh, I've got some big books. There's some big books for February. Luckily, I was able to get the audiobook for, I think, for the whole series on Chirp when it was on sale. So that'll help. All right, short but chunky. Not perfect, but better. Roll number 6, last and final roll. It was another 26 in 2026 book, and that is to read The Shadow of What Was Lost, which is awesome because I'm pretty sure that's also on my series and books I want to read in 2026 by James Islington, and I'm super excited about this one. And this is the first book in the Lycanus trilogy. Very excited to read this one. I have heard it's a little bit more in the style of Wheel of Time, but that's okay. I loved Wheel of Time. I don't mind the slow, meandering, over-detailed descriptions and things like that can be in these books. So I'm excited to read this one. I love The Will of the Many, so I'm excited to read some of James Islington's other works. So I definitely was not able to use my reward to triple up on any books because 3 of the 6 rolls were chosen for me, and none of those books worked with any of my other prompts. So there we go. That's all right. We don't have to use every reward that we get. Okay, short and sweet, 6 books. I love it. Let's go ahead and move on to book clubs. For the Catch-Up Book Club, we will be reading The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, and I do have this one, so that's great. I still have not read A Time of Dread, which is the 3rd book in the Blood and Bone series. I will be moving on to The Shadow of the Gods, and this is the 1st book in the Bloodsworn saga by John Gwynne. Very excited to read this one. For the Game of Tomes Book Club, the book for January through April is Moby Dick by Herman Melville. So I'm hoping to start this one at least in February. I may not finish it, but I want to at least start it in February. For the Goobers Who Read Book Club with Jashi Curran, they are reading Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I loved that book. I cannot wait for the movie to come out, and I would love to reread that. But with all the other books on my TBR, I'm going to go ahead and skip the reread for this month. For the Boundless Book Club, with This Story Ain't Over, this book club does a nonfiction and a fiction book every month. And for the nonfiction, we'll be reading Cobalt Red by Siddharth Kara. And then for the fiction pick, it is The Blueprint by Ray Gianna Rashad. And that one is a sci-fi book, so I'm excited. Of course, it's dystopian, obviously, because that's what I picked for TBRopoly. So I'm excited to give that one a try. Next is the Hardcore Literature Book Club, and for January and February, we are reading 3 plays, which I read all 3 of those in January, and that was the Orestia by Aeschylus, Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, and Medea and Other Plays by Euripides, and I did read all of those in January, and I gave them between 3 and 3.5 stars. Except for the Aeschylus, I think I gave that one 4 stars. I did really enjoy that one. And then the other book for January and February is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. It is a big one, and I have not started this yet. So when I finish Kraken Rider Z and Anne of Windy Poplars and Norse Mythology, because those are the only ones I have left for my January picks, once I finish those, I will get started on this one and then carry this one into February. And the Hardcore Literature Book Club is with Benjamin McAvoy. And I will leave all of these links down below in case you would like to take part in any of the book clubs as well. And then next up is the Well Read Book Club with Carolyn Murray Reads, and she also does the Game of Tomes book club. And for February, we are reading another heavy hitter, and that is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And I am interested in reading this one. I don't know if I can really say I'm excited to read this one, because it sounds like this one's a little emotional and heavy hitting as well as January's pick, which was what we talk about when we talk about love. But I have a feeling I'll like this one a little bit more because it's a full-fledged novel. It's not a short story. And I have read from Gabriel Garcia Marquez before, and I did enjoy that book, and that was 100 Years of Solitude. February's going to be a roller coaster of emotions, I have a feeling. And then we move into In Other Words, and this is the book club with Amanda from the Reading and Writing Life. And for February, we are reading Direbound by Sable Sorensen. And I'm excited for this one. My library does have it, but it's only the physical book, and there is a wait list. So I'm hoping I get it in time. Now for read-alongs. For the Anne of Green Gables read-along with Bookworm Wander, we are up to Anne's House of Dreams, the 5th book in the Anne of Green Gables series by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And I love the series. Again, the entire series is a reread for me, and I am just loving them so much. Next is the Darker Shade of Magic read-along with Stephanie from Stephanie's Bookverse, and we are up to the 2nd book in the series, which is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. Love the first one. Can't wait to see what the second one brings. Lastly, we have the Vampire Academy read-along with Sandra from Got a Thing for Things, and we are up to the 3rd book in the Bloodline series by Rochelle Mead, and that one is The Indigo Spell. I'm definitely interested to find out where this one goes. Now for year-long readathons and challenges. We'll start with Irinaldia with G at Book Roast. Luminara started at 1A, and she's going to move to 2A, and that is North. Read a book from your top shelf. And for this one, I decided to, since I only had 1 book from my actual shelves on my TBR from TBRopoly. So what I decided to do was I went to my bookshelves here and went to my chunky reads, and on the top shelf, let's see if I can hold this up. Right here is The Shadow of What Was Lost. So that's what I'm going to go with because it's on my TBR already anyway, and I really want to read it. So let's get it on here multiple times. And it's a chunky one. Next up is Castian, and he started at 1D, and he's going to move to 2D. And so that's north to east, and that's a book from the top right side of your shelf. And for this one, it was very easy, because Pride and Prejudice and Zombies was right here on this shelf, right up top here. It was at the very end, and I'm like, yay! So I can totally use this one. So at least I've gotten a couple books on here twice. Next up is Buzzwordathon with Kayla from Books and Lala, and the title prompt is Keyboard Keys in the Title, which is why I chose the book I did for my TBRopoly, and that is Can I live, daring to go from effed up to fabulous? Can I live, it's hard to see, but it's got a question mark and then an exclamation point, and then there's a colon, and then it says effed up, and of course there's an asterisk in the place where the U would be to fabulous. And so there are actually 4 keyboard keys, not counting letters, in the title. Love it. And this is by Grace Redmond. And then for the cover prompt, it was a silhouette on the cover, and I chose Cobalt Red by Siddhartha Kara. As you can kind of see in the background here of the cover, there are some silhouettes. It took me a while. I was looking at the covers of everything. I'm like, is there a silhouette in that? And I mean, I was thinking, oh, the shadow of what was lost, but no, you can kind of see all the details and stuff on them. I mean, the birds are kind of silhouettes. I mean, that could kind of work, but yeah, I'm going to go with Cobalt Red. Next is TBR Knockout with Completely Melanie. And for the first prompt is to read a book by a Black author, and I chose The Blueprint by Gianna Rashad. And then the second prompt is to read a book with topics that affect the Black community. And for this one, I'm also going to read The Blueprint by Gianna Rashad. For Year of Goober with Just from Jashi Curran, the first prompt is to read a romance, and that's going to be Love in the Time of Cholera. Although I do have a couple others. I could put Dire Bound on here because that one is also a romance. And I also got, so I was surprised, I put some books on hold at the library that were going to be new releases for January and February, because I still haven't read my January new release for Herkiad yet. And there's a book that comes out, I think it comes out like February 7th, February 17th, February 7th, somewhere in there. But the library already has it, and it's ready for me to go pick it up. Like, it's on the shelf. I can go physically pick it up and hold it in my hands. I'm like, wait a minute, I still haven't even gotten the book that came out in November. The library still doesn't have that one, but the one that doesn't come out till February is already in. Very weird. I'm very excited to read that one, though. It's The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. Yeah, can't wait to read that one. I'm going to be picking that one up this weekend. The second prompt for Year of Goober is to read a book with a colorful cover, and that is definitely The Blueprint by Gianna Rashad. Very yellow. Although I think Love in the Time of Cholera could work for this too. For TBR Trek, this is for January 18th through February 21st, I believe. So it's kind of a, they do it in between months, so halfway through to halfway through. And for January, we had to read kind of our like, let's get into this one prompt thing. We had to read a book with trees or greenery on the cover. I did read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. That's the second book in the Dream Harbor series, and that was so cute. I am on Team Dryad, and Team Dryad did win for this first kind of checkpoint. And now we have our next prompts. We did our gameplay, everybody went through the board, and yeah, we have some interesting prompts. So our first prompt is, again, to read a book with trees or greenery on the cover, and I plan on reading Anne's House of Dreams by Lucy Maud Montgomery, the 5th book in the Anne of Green Gables series. The next prompt was for all of the other teams to give us a prompt. So there's 4 teams, so we got 3 prompts for the price of 1. Opposite of my reward, but that's okay. The first one was to read a book set in a holiday destination, and I'm going to read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith, because this is set in England, and that is definitely a holiday destination. And the next 2 books were both free picks. They were super nice to us, which was great. So my first free pick, I was going to go ahead and slide in here another TBRopoly book, which is 11/22/63 by Stephen King. And the other one, I'm going to put another book club book in here, and that is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. And then for the third prompt, it's a group prompt. So between all of us on Team Dryad, somehow we have to read a book with a title that starts with an A, one that starts with a B, a C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. So 10 books total, and each of them has to start with a letter of the alphabet and then consecutively from there. So we each have to submit books and try and kind of strategize to make sure we get 10 letters in a row. So I plan on reading either Dire Bound by Sable Sorensen or Herald by Rob J. Hayes to take care of the D or the H, whichever one they still need at the time. So I'm also taking part in Bridge 4 year-long challenges, and there's a few of them, but the 3 main ones we have Foreplay, Starbridge, and Journey Through the Stars. Now for Foreplay is a bingo board, and they have prompts, and each of those prompts have a spot on the bingo board that either have an F 37 or O22, and it's for play, F-O-U-R-P-L-A-Y. So those are all of the different letters of the columns going across, and all the numbers going down. And for January, a person's name in the title, I read Anne of Windy Poplars by Lucy Maud Montgomery. For a book published in 2001, I read Quidditch Through the Ages by J.K. Rowling and Kenilworthy Wisp. And that was really cute. That was a reread. But it was cute and short and easy to finish. And then for the oldest book on my TBR, I'm currently reading Norse Mythology by Marie Campbell. For a book featuring a betrayal, I read The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo. Did really enjoy that one. And then lastly, for a book Kubrick adapted. Kubrick is a movie director, and he did like The Shining and some other things like that. But he also did 2001: A Space Odyssey, and I did read that one, and that's by Arthur Clarke, the first book in the Space Odyssey series. It was very interesting and very true. Somewhat. Like, I feel like from when that was written to what's going on now, you're like, how did you know? I love that. Kind of like 1984 and some of those other books that, they somehow they could tell the future. Okay, for foreplay, the first prompt is a book that heavily features magic. And for this one, I plan on reading The Sound of Murder by K.L. Montgomery, and it looks really cute. For the second prompt, it's a book that takes place in a wintry or snowy setting, and I did look this up to make sure, but I'm pretty sure that The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne, the first book in the Bloodsworn Saga, does take place in a wintry setting. The next prompt is, I could really use the book I just put on, but a couple other options, and that is to read a book with an animal on the cover or heavily featured in the story, and a couple options besides, of course, The Shadow of the Gods, because the big old animal on the front. But I could read Direbound by Sable Sorensen, because there's a wolf on the cover, a wolf head anyway. But if I don't get that in time from the library, then I will read The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington, because we got birds all over the cover. The next prompt is to read a book published in February of any year, as long as it was February, and that is The Blueprint by Ray Gianna Rashad. Then lastly, the fifth prompt is a book you predict will be a 5-star read, and that is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith, because this just sounds amazing. Love Pride and Prejudice, and putting zombies in the mix will just be crazy. I'm very excited to read this one. Next up, we have Journey Through the Stars. Now for January, you had to read these in order. So the first section was training, and so you had 5 prompts, and you had to learn the first thing before you could learn the second and third, and so on. So you had to read these in order. First one was to read a nonfiction, and I read Courage is Calling by Ryan Holiday. The next prompt was a comms check, and that was to listen to an audiobook or a book that featured multiple POVs, and this one was both audiobook and had multiple POVs, and that was Iceblade by Jay Aspen, the second book in the A Dance of Fire and Shadow series. The third prompt is Starship Maintenance, and that was a book that has been on your TBR multiple times or has been on your TBR for a long time. And I read I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. Next, we had to learn how to spacewalk, and for this one, it had to take place mostly outdoors or involves exploration of a new world, and I chose 2001: A Space Odyssey by Arthur Clarke. And lastly, we had Blast Off, and that was to read a book that features adventure or a quest. And for that one, I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Now, for February, we don't, as far as I know, we don't have to read these ones in any order, which is good. That helps. The first prompt is Molten Lava. Read a book with a red or orange cover, or fire, flames, and or lava in the cover or in the title. And for this one, I'm going to go with Cobalt Red, and that is by Siddharth Kara, and it definitely has red on the cover. It's a more subtle red. It's not a bright red, but it is red, and there's also red in the title, although that wasn't one of the prompts. Next, you could tell I'm getting these book club books in here. Luckily, they worked for a lot of things. Next is Cracked Earth. Read a book that features conflict, fractured societies, or broken relationships, and I will be reading The Blueprint, and that is by Ray Gianna Rashad. Next is Blazing Heat. read a bestseller, or a book hyped on social media. And there's a few that are on my TBR I could have chosen for this, like Direbound would actually work here too. And possibly The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. But I chose The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Might as well get all the chunky ones on here. I guess Moby Dick could fit too. And that was it, just the 3 for February, which is great. And then lastly, we have Starbridge, and this one does always need to be in order. So you have to read this book in order to read this book to this one, this one, this one, and you get 5 books each month. For January, the first book was to read a book in a hot setting, and I read The Golden Lily by Rochelle Mead, and this takes place in Palm Springs, California, so a little toasty. Next was a book that shares a trope with book number 1. And I read Anatomy by Dana Schwartz. That was one of my 5-star reads for January. I had 2. Courage is Calling is one, and Anatomy was the other. Those both have issues with stereotypes and societal norms. So one of them is more against, like vampires and that kind of a thing, where the second one is women's rights and things like that. They did both feature that same type of trope. So the next 2, I don't know if it's really cheating, but I mean, it is what it is. So here we go. The first one is book 3 has an antonym from book 2 in the title. Now, book 2 was Anatomy, and the antonym for that was like the soul or the spirit. And for that, I read Soulbound by Bethany Adams. Now, here's why I feel like I was cheating. Prompt number 4 is to read the debut book from the author that you read from book number 3, and book number 3 was Soulbound by Bethany Adams, and Bethany Adams' debut book is Soulbound. So I mean, technically, it's the same book for both prompts, but I kind of feel like it's cheating a little bit, like it should be an extra book, but I'm taking it. I'm counting it. Then lastly, book number 5 is 20 pages more or less, give or take, from book number 4. Now, this wasn't exactly, but it was as close as I could get with all of the books that I had. Soulbound was 460 pages, and Darker Shade of Magic was 429. So it was a little off, but I had so many books that were way over that it's the closest I could get with the ones that I had, and I took it. Oh, and we were on Mercury for January. For February, we are on Venus. This one was actually a lot easier for me with the books that I had. So we start with a book that is prominently romance. Well, I actually have a few, but I chose Direbound by Sable Sorensen. I'm sure I could probably also put in here The Sun and the Star Maker, but we'll see. And then book number 2 is, the book has the same publisher as book number 1, and luckily Direbound was Penguin Random House, which made it a whole lot easier. And it was also, I think, Hachette Audio, but it's Anne's House of Dreams by Lucy Maud Montgomery. The edition that I have was Penguin Random House. Prompt number 3, or book 3, has the same color scheme as book number 2. The book styles are definitely different, but they each have a blue, red, and green on the cover, and that is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Book number 4 is 100 to 200 pages more than book number 3. Now, Love in the Time of Cholera is 348 pages, and for 480 pages, so not quite 200, but it's definitely between the 100 and 200, I have The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. Now, book number 5 is, the author of book number 5 is compared to book number 4. And I'm like, I have no idea. So I did a little search. What authors are compared to John Gwynne? And one of the authors that came up was James Islington, The Shadow of What Was Lost. I just happened to be reading both of them this month, which is awesome. They both have the shadow of in the title, which is crazy, but they both work for this. Very excited for that. Now for Once Upon a Year, for January, the first prompt was a mystery or thriller set during winter, and I chose Lenny Marks' Gets Away with Murder by Karen Maine, and I love that one. That one was really good. I really loved the main character. She was amazing. A book with dual POVs And I read Before the Shadow. There is a POV from one side of the war, so to speak, and a POV from someone from the other side. So this one was great. It was just a prequel novella to the series, and I definitely want to read the series now, and this was by David Green. Next, I had to roll a 6-sided die and then times that number by 100, and that's the book I had to read, and of course, I got a 6. So I had to read a book that was at least 600 pages, and I ended up finding one, I think it's 640 pages, and I'm 217 pages in. And that is, can't really tell from here, but this is where I am in the book, Kraken Rider Z by David Estes and Dirk Ashton. Loving it. It is so much fun. Such a great book so far. Next is a book you were gifted, and that was Anne of Windy Poplars by Lucy Maud Montgomery. And then the last of the core quests was a book with an immersive setting or standout world building. And for that one, I chose A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. Next, we have companion quests. And the first one was to read a book featuring friendship or found family, and that was The Golden Lily by Rochelle Mead. Second book is a book that was at least 75% blue on the cover, and that was Ice Blade by Jay Aspen. And then read a graphic novel or a manga and finish it in one sitting. And for that, I read Saga Volume 12. By Brian K. Vaughan and Fiona Staples. Companion quest number 4 was to read a book that includes a cafe, a tavern, or a bookshop. And for that I read The Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. And then you could also participate in the Village Read to earn extra points. And the Village Read was Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson. And I've already read that one. So I read the second book in the series, and that is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect, and really enjoyed that one as well. Okay, for February, the first of the Storyteller's Feast is The Secret Gift. Read a book chosen or recommended by someone else, so I can easily put in a book club book here, and I think I'm going to go with Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. Although I probably should put Lonesome Dove on there to make sure I finish it. By Larry McMurtry. Next is Candlelight Tales. Read a book that you only read at night. That will probably be Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Graham Smith, because I will probably read this one at night before I go to bed. Maybe not the best choice, but there you go. Next is Snowbound. Choose a survival, isolation, or locked room style story. Not quite sure yet, but I think either Cobalt Red or The Blueprint will probably work here. Next is A Shared Feast. Read a book that features drinks, foods, recipes, or shared meals, and this will definitely be Anne's House of Dreams by Lucy Maud Montgomery. The Star Above. Pick a book with moon, stars, or celestial imagery on the cover, and for this one I will be reading The Sun and the Star Maker by Rachel Griffin. Then lastly, Cozy Fire. Read a book that is considered a classic. Maybe this is where I will put in Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. Definitely a classic. The other one I could use here is Love in the Time of Cholera. And Anne's House of Dreams. I think that's all the classics I have on here. And then lastly, we have TBR Explorer with Leandra, the TBR Zero. Now, I did almost complete all 3 rolls from my Lost Library TBR, and the only one I've left is Kraken Rider Z, and I'm almost done with that one, so that's great. So I need to do some more rolls, so let's go ahead and see what my next 3 rolls are going to be. Roll number 1 for Lost in the Library. A 3. So this is where I had ended, so 3. So 1, 2, 3. Don't want to do nonfiction because we were already there. 2, 3. Treat Yourself. 1, 2, 3. Indigenous author. Or 1, 2, 3. Read a debut. 2, 3. 5-star prediction or a banned book. Let's just go ahead and do 1, 2, 3. 5-star prediction. Ooh. Okay, roll number 2. A 1. So a book on the cover or adult fiction. Well, let's go ahead and go back to adult fiction because that is another one of the major rooms that you need to visit. So that would be a good idea. And then roll number 3. A 4. So let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, another 5-star prediction. 1, 2, 3, 4, another renewal, so reading a previous author. 1, 2, 3, 4, cozy activity. Oh, that would be a good one. 1, 2, 3, 4, fast or slow. 1, 2, 3, 4, a manga. 1, 2, 3, 4, Latinx author. Ooh, that'd be a good one. 1, 2, 3, 4, AAPI or a TBR book. I don't have an AAPI author on my TBR so far. I think I'm going to go with the Latinx author. So 1, 2, 3, 4, because I could put Gabriel Garcia Marquez on there. The first roll was a 5-star prediction, and I'm going to go with Pride and Prejudice and Zombies by Seth Grahame-Smith, since I already said that was going to be a 5-star prediction. That made it easy. Next, I chose adult fiction, and I'm going to go with The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. And then lastly, a Latinx author, and for that one, I'm going to go with Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I think that is all the books. And for having only 6 rolls in my TBRopoly, I still ended up with a heck of a lot of the books. And it's going to be a very enjoyable reading month. I was also supposed to have a buddy read in February for The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky, but I didn't want to put that on my TBR because I'm not sure how long we're going to take to read it, and I haven't heard back from them yet. So if you're watching this and you wanted to do a buddy read with me for The Brothers Karamazov, let me know down in the comments, and let me know what your Storygraph is, and I will set up a buddy read on Storygraph. And if you don't have Storygraph, then I can set something up on Fable. Just let me know down in the comments. And if you would prefer, you can also DM me on Instagram, and it's Booked and Bujo on Instagram. And let me know, because I would love to do that buddy read with you. And please let me know if you are taking part in any of these year-long challenges or year-long readathons, because they are so much fun. And there are some February readathons, but most of the ones I've seen are weekend, or 2-week-long ones, and I pretty much only do month-long readathons because I forget about the ones that are only happening at certain times. And yeah. I'm a mood reader on my TBR for the most part, so I like to set a TBR and then just pick and choose what books I want to read as the mood fits from that TBR. So I struggle more with the short readathons. So as far as I know, I'm not taking part in any of them, but if that changes, I will make sure I let you know. If there is a month-long readathon in February you think I would love and should take part of, let me know down in the comments as well. And I wish you lots of luck on your February TBR. And until next time, keep reading. Bye!